Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're glad to have you. Before we get started, I am going to do some quick introductions, go over a few housekeeping items, and then I'll pass it over to Francesco and Fabio to get us started. My name's Kayla. I'm here representing Acelab. We have Francesco and Fabio here from Nicos. They're going to be doing the presentation today, but let me quickly just share my screen so I can take you all over to Acelab for just a moment. So you should be able to see my screen in a moment. And so here we are in Acelab. If you're not familiar already, you can do any kind of materials research, any general research here by navigating to the search bar at the top of the screen. You'll see a few options here. If you're searching for a specific manufacturer, make sure to click this manufacturer's button. We also have our brand new AI search. That's a really great new feature. I definitely recommend checking that out. But here we are on Nico's page. We've got some really great information here for you, some value propositions, video, as well as their products for you to explore. So feel free to click into any one of these product pages here. There's some more information for you there. You can also actually save it right here to your firm library. That way you'll have it there for future reference. So I'll drop the link to this page in the chat, and when you have a moment, definitely check it out. All right, so a few other things to make note of. Today we will be doing Q&A at the end of the presentation. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to use that Q&A button you'll see at the bottom of your screen. Click that, drop your questions in throughout the presentation, and at the end we'll read them out loud to be answered. You'll also see a poll pop up during the presentation. It'll pop up on your screen. That is optional, so feel free to click the X if you're not interested in getting any kind of follow-up information. However, if you would like to be connected with Francesco after the webinar today, fill it out. We'll connect you via a conversation in Acelab. You'll see that notification come through in your inbox within a few days after the webinar. So a great way to get some further questions answered. And one other thing to make note of as well, we will be doing a post-webinar survey. So we really appreciate any feedback that you have. So feel free to fill out that survey and share that there. And that's everything from my end. So I will go ahead and pass it over to the Nicos team.
Okay.
Awesome. I can see your screen.
Okay.
I can see the video.
Do you see my screen? You see the video?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Francesco Nigris. I am the CEO at Nicos Group. Nicos Group has been active in supplying and designing a modular cleanroom system since the early 2000s. We've been working in North America with process equipment in the GMP environment for more than 30 years, since 1985. And we are now a nationwide company with headquarters in New Jersey, but with offices all over the country. We have one office in Nashville with a showroom in Denver, and we're going to open soon also another office at the end of the year in the Bay Area. Just a little bit of overview on this presentation, this discussion today. And this is basically, the idea is to let you understand what is the decision-making process when you are starting a clean room project. So what are the decisions you need to be ready? What are the questions you need to be ready to answer? What are the questions you should ask yourself when you start? Because there are options. And sometimes having options might be a problem because it's easy to go with just what is the standard that your ancient supplier provide you. But you have options, you have opportunities, and sometimes option is going to make life much easier in the future. So we are going to go through the first decision, whether it's going to be a modular system or a stick built, and we're going through the ins and out of every details of a clean room project that we feel are important and require a little bit of decision making at the early start. So this is our first slide. The first question is, I would say the first question was stick build versus modular. In the past, this was really the question. Now, I would say and then it was a question when I started introducing modular system in North America 20 years ago. Now, I think the decision has been made by the market, by the industry, by the players. Everyone realized that modular, it is the solution to go. In the beginning, I was also mentioning that the price was a reason maybe not to go with modular, but now even with the cost of labor and so on, it is also sometimes even cheaper to go with the modular system. So the other advantage, of course, are pre-design. If you work in a pharmaceutical environment, sometimes people working with stick built is not that familiar for all the constriction and all the rules that need to be followed, the capability of doing modification during the course of the program process. That means also modification and flexibility, the possibility of choosing materials, the durability. A stick-built system is a system which is much softer and much more easy to damage. And of course, the idea of project management that using a modular system, it allows to deal with the project leader of the supplier at the earlier stage than a stick-built system. Clean room material. And again, here it is another thing where you have a choice. Sometimes there are several manufacturers, several suppliers which have only one type of panel. So and I'm not afraid of naming names. There is AES or Clean Space and Plascor that are basically supplying one standard that has been considered in certain cases the standard of the market, which is the aluminum honeycomb with UPVC metal with UPVC coating, which is a perfect product. It is a good product that has been sold all over the country, but it's not the only solution. There are alternatives. So the panel usually use a modular panel is built by a skin, by an insulation, and by a supporting material. For all these materials, we have alternatives. We may have different alternatives and different solutions for skins. We may have different solution for insulation material, and sometimes even the structure itself. We can play with different material. So the skin material, and again, you see as a second the UPVC coated galvanized steel. That was in most of the cases, that was considered the standard, because you can do liquid caulking between Coldwell's caulking between panels. And sometimes this is not even a question when you are addressing a clean room project, but this is not true. You have alternative. You have alternative where perfectly acceptable product for FDA and GMP using powder-coated galvanized steel, which is much less expensive and as durable and resistant to scratches to the UPVC. You have the high pressure laminated, which is a product, which is a formica, which is a phenolic resin plastic material, which is very resistant to scratch, which in some cases might be the solution to go. There is stainless steel, there is glass to be used, and glass could be used as a walls, as a partition as well. There is aluminum as a support galvanized steel, which is in certain cases can be the solution. And again, in terms of insulation, there is not only aluminum honeycomb, there is rockwool, that is a perfectly acceptable product, which is also FM approved. We have polyurethane. And these are two products that are still available and acceptable for the Northern American market. So you have choice. Sometimes you do project overseas where polyurethane and polystyrene are still accepted, while in North America, not that much. And you need to consider price and solution. So these are the kind of the decision. And it's good to talk with the supplier. And in this case, I'm naming my company, Nicos, which is able to provide you with alternatives and solution and flexibility on the material. Of course, if you have 5 projects in your factory already with UPVC and aluminum honeycomb, that's fine. You don't need to change. You may want to stay with that. But if you have flexibility, you're starting with a new project, it's a small compounding pharmacy, it is something you may have different solution. So if you have a restriction of having a project that require UL and FM certification, then your solution, it is a little bit narrower, but still you have possibility. In the past was just the UPVC and aluminum honeycomb. Now it is also powder coated and rockwool. We have different, of course, you need to evaluate whether it makes sense to go with a different thickness in terms of the skin, depending on the traffic, the durability, what are your need for the project. You may have the possibility to evaluate whether you need flexibility, cost effective, and this is a table. And then again, I will be happy. Now we have a time restriction today, but I will be more than happy to go and discuss it with you, what are the pros and cons of every solution. We have also one that is not very popular in North America, but is a product that is very effective, which is the HPL, which is a product that is much easier to work on site, to make modification, and it is very, very scratch resistant. It is the most scratch resistant product available in the market. This is something you may want to evaluate when you consider the choice of material. And again, glass. Glass, you can see here, a wall is not just windows or glazing. This is glass used as a partition. This is a solution. There is different options to make it this also cost effective. Sometimes people get scared thinking that glass walls are much more expensive than standard wall. To be honest, it's not true. We can have solution where the glass in a GMP and nice and flush solution, which make the glass wall different from the office walls, are available, and this can be a solution to be accepted. We have 2 types of glass, we as a company, but these are available in many others, from many other suppliers, like this, where you have a double glazed glass flush on both sides of the walls, or we have a glass, and this is kind of unique to us, which is still using rounded corner, and this can be in certain cases even as the same price of a standard wall. And it is also, the picture you see are in FDA approved environment, so these can be also used for both pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, or the food industry, where Cleanroom are discussed. And again, there are metrics, there are evaluation, but the point is, if you're working on a product and your supplier is telling you, look, you have only this type of panel, this is what we are offering you, and without discussing with you that there are certain options, I think is not a good sign. So the choice of the material for the walls, the type of the walls, including going with the full walls or the liners, there is certain things, it is something you may want to consider. There are situations where even for wall coating of an existing wall, going with liners can be the solution, or it's even easier to go with the standard wall. Something that it is also oversee is the fact of using a progressive versus non-progressive. So the possibility of removing a single panel or not. And again, sometimes project where are price sensitive, the supplier is supplying only the progressive system, which is the system where you need to disassemble the entire row of panel in order to remove one single. And it's not telling you this, that this is a progressive solution. And then you realize only later the reason why that supplier was giving you such a cheap price. So this is something also that needs to be addressed. And building a non-progressive system and make it easy is not the system. This is, for example, is the system used by Nicos, where you can easily remove a single panel by using a panel-to-panel connection, which is a combination of aluminum and rubber. And just by removing the rubber, you can easily remove the single panel. This is an example of how simple can be a progressive solution. We have it, but we always discuss with the customer whether one solution it is better to the other. If you know that you're building a clean room, you will never make any changes. There is no reason to go with a more expensive solution of a non-progressive, which takes a little bit longer even during installation. Another solution that it is another question, sorry, you need to answer is, what is the caulking, the connection between panel to panel? If you go with UPVC, sometimes the UPVC panel choice is done because this is used cold weld. That is fine. You have a chemical welding between panel and panel, and this can be the perfect solution. But remember, if you're using this system, you're going to lose all the modularity. You're going to lose all the possibility of a non-progressive solution. And also, different from silicone, the silicone caulking, you're going to still see with a kind of mark the rim of the connection panel to panel, which is something that is going to be concealed much better in the case of the silicone caulking. So you can see here, you can see from where far away the panels to panel connection, while in the silicone caulking, and if you use the right color, of course, of the silicone, you're going to see like a smooth, much smoother surface on the wall. Doors, of course, the standard one, it is the standard single leaf swing out doors. Easy to go with that solution. When you start to go with the double door, you are going to have again solution. Double doors means you have an entrance that should be an entrance not only for personal, but you are in principle need to move equipment, you need space basically. And then at that point, you have alternatives. And alternatives can be a sliding door, but you need to be aware that the sliding door it goes with a much higher price if you want a real airtight solution. And it is a solution that is going to occupy space on your side of the wall. You may have the roll-up door, for example. And now this is becoming more and more popular also in the process area, in the manufacturing. And this is a fully stainless steel door that is supplied also by Nicos, where you can have a full airtight roll-up door where it solves the solution. It gives you the solution of limiting the space needed, either on the side of the opening of the swing out, and is giving you a very good airtight and very good cleanability. Sometimes the roll-up doors are not suggestible when you are in an environment where powder is used because it's a little bit more difficult to clean it up. But if you are in a semiconductor or in any other process which is a clean, let's say, process, and you need airtight, this is very good. Roll-up door can be used down to ISO 6 or ISO 7 environment. And then, of course, roll-up door can be used also very simple in warehousing environment. And again, talking about doors, sometimes I receive a solid dosage design and layout where sliding doors are used in a tablet manufacturing facility. And when I'm asking why you're selecting sliding door, because we need to have space. We do not have a space inside. And I'm letting the customer know that in an environment where air tightness of the door, it is important. Going with sliding door may mean a price adder, which is considerable. And at that point, they may even go to save money with a double door, automatic, or again, with a roll-up door. When you air tightness is important, remember to evaluate how is designed the gasket. And Nicos, for example, is providing a situation, a solution where the gasket are rubber gaskets on both sides of the connection between doors and the frame. And then, of course, this goes without saying, all the accessories. Again, all these things it's better to evaluate it in the beginning. My experience is there are certain things that are evaluated during the quoting and selection process. Sometimes these things are kind of oversight and not evaluated in details. And then this is going to take a toll during the design approval, where we are spending so much time in defining those little details. And for a project that could have lasted, like in our case, 16 to 8 weeks, we go in much longer because the architect, the consultant, is going back and forth with the end user and asking questions that it takes long to be answered. So these are all things that need to be evaluated. What type of door closure the one inserted in the wall or the external one, what is the air tightness that are required on the doors, is that important, is not important, and so on. And of course, all the door accessories, and having a suppliers that when they provide you a turnkey, they can provide you a turnkey, including doors and knobs and accessories, doors and accessories. And some of the things you see here are manufactured by us directly, so including the doors. So having somebody that is able to take care of everything and handle the different handle solutions in a very, very easy way. And including knowledge on handling the access control. Access control in clean room environment is very, very important. Knowing what are the clean and the free area, the segregated area is very important. How to access, what are the options, or door, card reader, door opener, semaphore, and so on. So important to be able to deal with somebody that is able to propose and to be proactive in discussing with you the solution. Sealing, most probably you've been exposed to two general type of sealing: the T-grade, which is the non-walkable, and the large panel 4x10, which is the walk-on. Again, I don't want to be the one that is cutting the hair in four, but again, this is not also a just solution, just a matter that has a very simple solution, so simple solution like that. For example, Nicos is proposing a T-grade, which is both walk-on and not walk-on. Sometimes the advantage of a T-grade solution, where you have flexibility in moving the position of the light fixtures and the HEPAs and the grills, it is something that is so important for your project for different reasons. At that point, it is important to know that you can go with the T-grade and having a flush to the grid, so a very flush solution, and you can have a T-grade which is also walk-on certified. On the other side, seamless, our seamless ceiling panel. That's why we call it seamless ceiling. It is not necessarily that the big panel 4x10 are walk-on only. You may have a solution where you go with like this solution, where you like the seamless ceiling without all the connections and seams that you have in a T-grid, but you don't need a walk-on. We have a solution of a seamless panel, which is both walk-on, which has a price adder because of certification, because of the sturdiness, because of the design and the support and the structure. But you can have a situation like this where that panel is just sitting on the walls and supporting just and needing to support just the weight of the light fixtures or the headpans. And we have here some of the ceiling structure. Something that is very important to consider is the fact that you need to know when you talk, for example, of the walk-on ceiling, you need to be sure that the existing structure is able to support the weight required by the walk-on ceiling. And sometimes not always we receive the right answer. So people doesn't know how we can, if we can hang the ceiling to the existing roof or not. That people don't know what is the flexibility, what is the deflection rate of their ceiling in case of snow or weather. And this is our information that are important because they can change dramatically the price of a ceiling structure, if you need to add mezzanine or not. This picture is been taken by us at Ford, where we built a clean room for their battery facility. And we built also the structure because we were told that the ceiling were not able to support the walk-on ceiling. So this is, again, another question that is very, very important to be aware of. And then we have some details on the structure, penetrations. Of course, when you talk about ceiling, you may need to have access to the ceiling from the room. You may want to keep the two areas totally segregated. These are also action. If you want to have access to the upper part, you may consider to use panels like this, and talking with the supplier whether they have the experience of doing it, they can do it for you, and so on. And this is also, when we talk about the ceiling, it is important to know in the beginning how high is going to be the ceiling, because the complexity of the project is going to change again dramatically. If the ceiling is going to be like a 10 feet standard ceiling or 8 feet standard ceiling, or if we're going to go 20, 30, and above. And the same is for the T-grid. And here you see also dealing with a company that is flexible enough to deal with different height without crying if you propose something like that. This is a project we did a few years ago here in New Jersey, where in the same room, near one to each other, we had 3 levels of ceilings. And because this is a clean room, we had the need and we wanted to make it nice. And this is some flooring. And again, knowing what are the needs of the flooring, we can start with aluminum profile, something that goes on top of an existing. You know, you need to go with epoxy. Epoxy is the standard. So again, it is difficult that you're going to go wrong if you select the epoxy flooring. Is that the only solution? No, you can go with an existing and just using coving without, if the existing flooring is nice, you don't need to redo an existing flooring. You can go with something where the system go exactly on top of the walls. Or you can go, for example, with PVC flooring. Now there are several companies like Forbo or Nora that they are supplying PVC or rubber floor. Nora is also claiming the sustainability and the easy to recycle of their product. So these are situations that you may want to consider for the rubber flooring instead of the epoxy. And these are several options. And again, this is an option. You have the option where, and that's something you may want to decide, whether the floor and the epoxy goes up to the wall and making a nice smooth connection, or you're going to put coving at the floor that is going to be placed after. So the good thing is, in this case, that you can do the floor before installing the walls. Material certification, that is something that is important. Usually the minimum is having a product that is able to claim the same performance clarified by ASTM E84, but important, verify if FM is a real need, because this is narrowed down a little bit your product solution, and also the supplier. There are not many suppliers in North America that they can supply FM approved product. Seismic. This is, I would say, the most underrated requirement in the clean room environment. Nobody is really talking about seismic. They think that the seismic is basically related sometime only on the outer structure, sometime of the walk-on ceiling, of the ceiling or walk-on ceiling of the clean room. Sometime in a clean room environment, seismic certification and seismic, it is important because you want your clean room. You don't want just, and of course, that people get injured during an earthquake in your clean room, but you want, on top of that, that your clean room remain operational during and after an earthquake. So again, it is something that is important for me. Sometimes even the local requirements are not enough with reference with operations to define your seismic certification. So this is another question you have to pose yourself when you talk about the clean room project. And of course, this is something I let it at the end of my presentation, but this is also important. The ISO classification. ISO classification is important. There are situations where we receive requests and say we want a clean room, and then say, okay, what is the ISO classification? And the customer doesn't know. The guy that wants to build, of course. Sometimes we receive requests also from people that are startup, or they want to start up a business, a compounding pharmacy. They have no clue about what. But again, this is important. But again, the important thing it is sometimes the class and the ISO class is not the only thing we need to consider, because when you go into the GMP environment, the ISO is not enough. They are talking about class A, B, and C, which also take in consideration what is the status of the process you're going to do inside. So the designer should control and should let us know the cascade of pressure, the cascade of rooms and rooms classification. When you deal with the GMP and European FDA and European certification, it is important also to know the process, to realize whether certain to realize what is the design of the clean room. Because if you're working with cytotoxics and product, oncological product, you may have different design requirement in an ISO 5 than in an ISO 2 of semiconductor. So knowing what they are doing inside, it is very, very important. If this is the pharma, if it is a food, knowing if they are producing yogurt versus a drug, it is important. If they are producing the process, what are the level of contamination control they need to require, because sometimes ISO, which is the benchmark of the first decision to define the mechanical service, is not enough. You may need to know something else. And again, that is also important to know, because of course, if you need to check the ISO, you need also to check what is the difference between room and room, and the walls need to be resistant. If you have 75 Pascal if you have an ISO 5 room that is facing the warehouse, the difference of pressure between the two rooms is going to be considered. And then some other requirements. Sometimes these are things that are evaluated or given for granted, but asking your supplier, what are the temperature, the artificial light resistant, chemical agent, steam resistant? Those are all the questions that is important to me. And something that last but not least, there is many projects where the solution with fan filter unit, it is considered as the solution to go, which is fine. I mean, of course, the majority, I would say, of North American clean room are built with that system. So using a fan filter unit, there are alternatives. The HEPA filters and the duct solution, it is a solution that reduces the cost of the wall system because the wall is going to stay lower. You're using ducts above. Sometimes it's more flexible. Sometimes it's even cheaper. So going back to a solution where you're using fan filter unit and a plenum, sometimes it's easier. Sometimes it is the way to go. Sometimes the noise of the fan filter unit, the cost of a fan filter unit, it might guide you to go in other direction. The rule of the thumb I am using personally, of course, if it is a small dry, as a small clean room, a small compounding pharmacy, a small little room, fan filter units is the way to go, and the little recirculation and a plenum and so on. When we are dealing with larger project, when you're going to have a lot of fan filter unit to control together, at that point, the best solution would be to go with a diffuser and a duct, and that would be much easier to go. And we are going to get close to the end of the presentation. The partner you are selecting for your Cleanroom project, first of all, needs to be a partner that is giving you the question at the right moment. So the decision-making process we discussed today, it is important. All those questions need to be placed. Of course, sometimes it's not necessary to know exactly the position of an outlet recirculation grill or the position of an electrical outlet right now, but you need to be sure that the partner is able not to oversee certain question, certain decision, and to pose it at the right time in order to keep the pace of the project. So you need to have a partner that is flexible at every step. So modularity, of course, as opposed to the stick build, it gives you this flexibility. You need to have a partner that knows that you have choices regarding the materials. You know that you have solutions, different solutions. For example, the modular wall system can be a solution, but there are situations where you need something that needs to be built right away, where the wall and the panel system needs to be replaced with a pod, for example. And again, the good thing that Nicos Group, we have experience both with the standard modular system made by panels or with a pod, the container system, just to give you an idea what is the main business of GCON, for example. Again, those are solutions. There is no one way. If you go to GCON, most probably they're going to tell you that the pod is the only way to go. If you go with AES, they're going to tell you that the panels is the only way to go. And I think it is important that a good and a smart partner for your clean room project should give you all the solutions that are available. And it's good to have a supplier that can deal with that. So not at the moment of the supplier, the selection of the supplier, you're already selecting, you're already making decisions that you can make maybe later on. the possibility to having a crew, we are using factory train our own installation crew that makes the installation much more flexible and people dealing in a proactive way during installation. And believe me, this is a very, very important product. Buying material for the company XYZ and having the company ABC installing it may lead to certain problems in a way that any changes, the installer say, we were not in charge of this. We were not told that we had to do this. This is not our problem. Get a change order. If the crew that installing it is the same of the manufacturer, and if there is any changes, this is what happened with us. They're going to call us. You need an extra panel. You need an extra, you need a change of the panel. Let's do it. And in 24 hours, these are change that can be done. And this goes on also with the after sales. You need something later on and working with you in the most flexible way. And this can be achieved if you have an holistic approach of the entire project. And this is really the core of my presentation today. So having a partner that is working with you in the beginning of the process, when there is the first design. So we are a wall manufacturing company, but we are also designing. We know about designing and we want to work with you. So you need to be working with somebody that knows about design, that knows what are the restrictions of manufacturing. There are certain things that can be done. There are certain things that cannot be done. And sometimes if you deal with a dealer that is buying from somebody else, sometimes not always. You have somebody that is dealing with distribution. We did a tremendous work during COVID and working about logistic and so on, and being on top of logistic when the port were closing and selecting the right way. This is also very important. And then, of course, when the material is delivered, project management, installation, cleaning and commissioning. These are all things because those are done by the same company that was in charge from the beginning. And they know the ABC of the project. And this is very important. I'm not telling you here, I was told that this is not a sales pitch, that Nicos is the only way to go, but at least you need to look on company that are able to do these things in a smooth and holistic approach. And again, proactivity. So you need to have somebody that can work with you, that has the flexibility to prepare for you, rendering something that is telling you how things are showing. But maybe the need of your project is selling it to your upper management and having a supplier that can provide you something like this, maybe even helping you in selling this to your customer, not as we are sometimes involved as a part of selecting us versus somebody else, but selling to the upper management that this is the clean room we need, because look at how nice is this and how bad it looks, our existing environment where we are working. And so this is some pictures. And again, I want to conclude also letting you know that as architects, we are sending message. I was at the seminar on aseptic processes where a very important panelist was mentioning that the majority of the contamination in the clean room is caused by operator mistakes. So we are doing everything nice. We do all the right choices. And at the end, the operator is messing up because he's bringing a sandwich into the clean room, because he's bypassing an access control, because after doing this, he's leaving a door open, because he's forcing the interlock and keeping two doors open at the same time. I saw them all during the qualification. And at that point, as an architectural company, sending the right message to the operator is very, very important. So the design of the clean room, which should be perfect and excellent and reach for excellence for the performance point of view, should also send a signal from the aesthetic point of view, where it's telling the operator, this is a clean space. This is a place where you don't bring a sandwich in. This is a place where you have to behave in a different way. And again, when you start sending messages, you send messages not to the operator. You send messages to the customer that are coming and having a look of your operation. If you are a contract manufacturing company, you are sending messages to the inspectors from FDA or the regulatory company that comes and see if your clean room is built according to the rule. And if they see something, and let me use the word nice. If you see something that is nicely built, nicely designed, it adds on to all the performance things we discussed. It adds on to the choice of material, to the ceiling, the doors. You have something nice, you have something that spark a message in the mind of the players of a clean room. And these are just some pictures that I think it conveys. They are conveying this message of a nice, special place. And now I think I let some time for your question and answer session.
Awesome. Thank you. That was a really great presentation. Very thorough. So let's go ahead and jump into some questions. First things first, somebody's asking, what is the purpose of a walk-on ceiling?
The purpose of the walk-on ceiling is to do maintenance on mainly the HEPA filters, which are the part that are kind of interfacing between the outside and the inside of the room, outside without entering the clean room. So if you have to replace the HEPA filters, if you have a walk-on ceiling, you can do it from above. A walk-on ceiling can be used also with the mezzanine to support, for example, some of the equipment, the air conditioning equipment. So the question of the advantage of the walk-on ceiling would be the possibility to do maintenance on on some of the material without entering the room.
Perfect. That was great. Okay. Next question we have is, what are the pros and cons of modular versus stick-built cleanroom construction?
That is something I try to cover in the beginning. Let me maybe, I don't know, let me go back to the first slide from the beginning. One of the things it is, oops, I'm sorry. It is materials. The material of the modular panel, no matter what, who's manufacturing, not only us at Nicos, but us and all our competitors, the material of modular panels is much far better than any stick built. If you want to make the stick built walls as good as a modular wall, at that point you're going to add on like a film, a PVC, a kind of coating of a gypsum wall that is going to add in, and at that point is going to become as expensive or even more expensive of a modular wall, so the choice doesn't make any sense. If you want to have a small clean room, gypsum wall, epoxy painted, you can do it. If you're gonna hit it with the maintenance guy entering with the big screwdrivers on their pants, they're gonna hit the wall, they're gonna damage, you're gonna see mark, you're gonna see skid, you're gonna see penetration. That's something you don't do. These are, I think, one of the main one. So the quality, one is good quality, the other one is average or lower quality. And then you have capability of dealing with modification. You have easy project management, advantage of doing pre-design. And again, sometime you have people doing stick build that are familiar with Cleanroom and FDA and so on. Sometimes you have people that the day before they built a hotel or an office. And at that point, dealing with the Cleanroom project, it is a little bit different.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that answers the question well. Thank you. All right. Next question is, how do you handle transitions between different cleanliness zones?
Usually you deal okay, this presentation was focused more on the architectural part, so the structural part. When you're dealing with different quality of the air, basically the difference is a cascade of pressure. So the rooms that are cleaner are usually the one with the higher pressure. So the flow, it always go in terms of, if I open a door, the flow of air always go from the cleaner to the dirtier. Usually when you're talking about clean room, we say the less cleaner with the lower ISO certification. This is something that is typical for a clean room environment, unless you have to deal with potent products, with the product that you don't want to get out in the environment. And then this is a story that is a little different story, which is something related to compounding and so on. So the rule of the thumb is cascade in pressure, higher pressure for the cleaner and lower pressure for the dirtier. You need to consider also containment and use for potent product where you may have to include some different decision making because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think that's our last question for now. So I just want to remind everyone who filled out the poll to keep an eye on your inbox here over the next few days. We'll be sending out emails that'll come from a no reply Acelab email address. You can actually respond directly to that email, but like I said earlier, it's basically an open line of communication with you and the Nicos team. So you can ask any additional questions. They'll be sending you some materials that you're requesting.
Absolutely.
And so just want to make sure that you know that you can respond to those, and it is a great way to get some more questions answered if you have any after the presentation today. But I guess that's really all we have. Francesco, is there any final comments you'd like to make before we wrap things up?
No, that's myself and Fabio are here to answer your question. And anyway, our part of our job is also work on the educational side. So educate our customer and our partner is make our life easier when the project starts. So feel free to ask.
Yes, definitely. Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much. It was a really great presentation. And thank you everyone who joined us today. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.